What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another episode of NBA Weekly. I'm your host, Pee Wee the Plug, and in today's episode, we have to talk about free agency. Before we dive into that, though, I just want to remind everybody at home, make sure you hit that like button for me, and if you're new and you enjoy this type of content on a weekly basis, make sure you subscribe. Free agency, best time of the year for a fan like me. I love to see player movement. I love to see players getting bags, and I love to see teams either get better, get worse, or solidify the direction of their franchise. And we've had a lot of that going on over the last 48 hours. I want to talk about winners. I want to talk about losers. And the first winner I'm going to start off with is the players. I've seen the discourse on Twitter, a lot of the live reactions to players getting a certain amount of monies, and everybody like, man, he don't deserve this, or how could they pay him this? On a day like yesterday and today, where players are actually signing the contract and getting the amounts of money, for me as a fan, I just enjoy celebrating some of the success that some of these players are getting after you hear their stories. I have some guys in front of me who got signed, and I see the amount of money that they made or are making now. You got a guy like Jeremy Grant at the top of this list, where he's getting a 5-year deal and he's going to make $160 million, which is basically $32 million annually. When you look at the career of Jeremy Grant, you have to applaud this. And you have to salute it and be happy for Jeremy Grant. There's going to be plenty of time to criticize these contracts and to pick them apart. Is this player playing up to $30 million a year salary? Is this player doing it? We're going to have plenty of time to criticize and critique these deals. But on a day like yesterday and today and the next few days, when a player actually gets the bag, for me, I immediately want to applaud it and celebrate it, because a lot of these players in this particular free agency class, there are some amazing stories for guys who are, trying to get to this level, young kids who are trying to make it to the league and aren't the top of their class or McDonald All-American players, or they may not be going to a Duke University or Kentucky. These are amazing stories. Jeremy Grant, second-round pick out of the trust the process, Sam Hinkie, Philadelphia 76ers core. He was just an energy guy. Then he got traded to the Thunder. He was an energy guy, but he was a wing defender, and he had a pick and pop thing with Russ. Then he went to the Nuggets and played really good, amazing defense in the bubble for them. And then he got put on notice and got a little bag from the Pistons and was like a first option and was scoring almost 20 points a game and damn near was an all-star. And now you see a guy get better every single year, legitimately goes into the gym every single summer, works on his game, and turned his entire game around from being an energy off the bench piece who have athleticism to being a guy who can catch and shoot, defend, to then being a guy who could be, your number one option on some nights, to now being a guy who could be your second or third option on a highly competitive team at a 6'9", length and frame, and can be a versatile defender. So I applaud a contract like this for a guy like Jeremy Grant, who probably didn't know if he was going to be able to stick into the league when he first came in, and is now $32 million player. That's an amazing story. The guy beneath him, Fred VanVleet, he didn't even get drafted. This dude did not get drafted. Played in the G League, went from the G League to then making the actual team, from making the actual team to being in the rotation, to being in the rotation, to being one of the first guys off of the bench, to being one of the first guys off of the bench, to being the starting player, from being a starting player to being able to be an all-star, and then to get $20 million a year annually, then to go from $20 million a year annually to be a $42 million player and getting $130 over 3 years at a max. That's an incredible story for a guy who's a 6-foot, that's me being friendly, point guard out of Wichita State. This is an amazing story. How can I not applaud this? And like I said, we are going to have plenty of time to criticize and be critical of these contracts based on how these players perform. There's only one day these players sign these contracts. And in my mind, there is nothing wrong with celebrating and applauding that day of them signing it, and then we'll get to the time to criticize them. These are 5-year deals, 3-year deals. We're going to have years to pick these deals apart. But in right now, when you think about the story and what these guys had to do to get these bags and what they had to overcome and the message it sends to our youth basketball players, I can't do anything but applaud it. We even scroll down a little bit. Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma was a late first-round pick who nobody really even knew coming out of Utah. A lot of people told him at Utah that he was making a mistake by entering the draft and staying in the draft after he got the pro feedback, and he still bet on himself. Was drafted in the same year as Lonzo, so he really got overshadowed as far as media attention and who the Lakers had actually got. Bust his ass in the summer league, and ever since that summer league performance that he was putting on, Kyle Kuzma has been a main name out there as far as young power forwards, and he just made $102 million with the Wizards. $102 million for a guy who people was telling him, no, you're making a mistake by leaving your name in the draft. You're making a big-time mistake. This is a dude who the Lakers, didn't know exactly what they were doing. Should he be traded? Then they traded him, and they got back. I can't even remember what the Lakers got back in the Kyle Kuzma trade. Yeah, my mind is going blank right now. But who cares? Kyle Kuzma, $102 million, another guy who wasn't a McDonald All-American, wasn't a lottery pick, and wasn't a household name coming into the draft and had to work for everything he got. And he's been putting up some numbers with the Wizards. And going forward, there's going to be a market for Kyle Kuzma when he hits the trade market, because this is not a contract that the Wizards are probably going to keep Kyle Kuzma for the entire length. But whenever they have to explore the option of trading him, there's going to be a line of contenders trying to get a 6'9", 6'10" power forward who can create his own shot, play without the basketball, spot up and hit jump shots, and defend multiple positions. Kyle Kuzma earned that contract. Chris Middleton got $102 million. Draymond Green, who after his prime, a second-round pick after his prime, got another $100 million deal. Chris Middleton, I believe, is either a late first or a second-round pick himself, $100 million deal. This is an incredible class of incredible stories. Even a guy like Max Strus, who had to play like community basketball at Lewis University, which is around where I'm from, and now he's getting $63 million a year on a deal to go to the Cavaliers. There's just so many good stories in this class. Austin Reeves, from what he's been through, undrafted, to now $14 million a year, which was a steal in my opinion. There's, like I said, a bunch of good stories, and I just wanted to applaud and give out my first winners, which was the players. We're not even talking about the deals that Desmond Bane, Halliburton, LaMelo got. Those are obviously fantastic and well-deserving as well. But a lot of these guys in this free agency class, outside of the extensions, second-round picks, undrafted, or late first-round picks who had to really go in the mud and put in work, develop their games, and bet on themselves, and this is the result of it. And it means a lot for the basketball community and the youth that's coming up that's trying to find their way. So I had to give some love to the players. As far as teams and transactions, my first winner is the Los Angeles Lakers. I really look at the list in front of me of the free agency tracker, and you can see all the moves. The Lakers have dominated and ran circles around the NBA in this free agency. They literally have. I mean, they brought back Austin Reeves at $14 million. I believe the mid-level exception is like 12.4. You're paying him $2 million above the mid-level exception for the year that he just had at 25 years old. That's a bit shocking for me. That is a bit shocking for me. And on top of bringing Austin Reeves back, you also brought back Rui Hachimura. You also brought back D'Angelo Russell. You also added Gabe Vincent. You also added Jackson Hayes. You also added Taurean Prince. Like, the Lakers, to me, are running circles around everybody in the NBA as far as adding their depth, bringing back extremely key pieces to the team. And I think going forward, they're going to be good. They lost Dennis Schroeder, but again, you lose Dennis Schroeder and you bring back Gabe Vincent. You bring back D'Angelo Russell. This team is now going to have some depth. They're going to have another year under their belts of continuity and chemistry. And I think these are some really good pieces to add around LeBron James and Anthony Davis. The only thing I would want to see them do that's left is maybe bring in some more size. Jackson Hayes is like a power forward, maybe small ball center. I would love to see them go get somebody who can eat up some minutes behind Anthony Davis at the center spot legitimately. But other than that, I mean, I thought Austin Reeves was going to be the most important thing for them to bring back. They did that. I hope they empower him now. D'Angelo Russell was the safest bet for them to bring back as far as the point guard position goes for. Like I said, you lose Schroeder, but you bring in Gabe Vincent, who had a really good playoffs with the Heat. And Taurean Prince is a nice 6'8", 6'9", versatile defending wing who can knock down some corner three-point shots. He'll replace a Troy Brown Jr. really, really well. Jackson Hayes is a long, athletic power forward / center who can eat some minutes up in the front court. They did a really good job, and as far as looking like a complete roster, I think they did that. They had an incredible draft in my mind as well, bringing in Maxwell Lewis. You still have Max Christie. The Lakers are doing anything. I have to give an A+ to the Lakers, and when I look at this roster on paper, this looks like a legitimate championship team. Now, obviously, the main ingredients and components of this team is going to fall on the shoulders of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But if I get what I expect from them, I don't see how this team can be successful. And I'm forgetting Cam Reddish. You also have Cam Reddish. And really, really quick, I want to know for a fact what the Los Angeles Lakers brought in fully with the draft, because I'm losing thought. I said Maxwell Lewis. The Lakers also brought in Jalen Hood-Schifino. Boom. So yeah, you still have Jared Vanderbilt. You have LeBron, AD, Cam Reddish. You got Austin Reeves, Gabe Vincent, D'Angelo Russell. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Lakers. Good draft, good free agency, and you build this team around those two guys, and you come back with some continuity. And I think this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with all year. And I'm prepared for them to have a championship run and be one of the contending teams out in the West. When you look at the starting lineup of D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, LeBron, Jared Vanderbilt, or however they want to slice it up there, plus Anthony Davis, and then off to the bench, you have Gabe Vincent, Rui Hachimura, and I love the fact that they taking chances on guys like Jackson Hayes and Cam Reddish, along with the young guys of Jalen Hood-Schifino, Max Lewis, even Max Christie, because Phil Handy has shown that when you give him some untapped talent and you allow him to work with them, he can bring out some of that potential that hasn't been tapped into. And I'm extremely excited to see what he does with Cam Reddish. But Taurean Prince, I mean, they went out and they really bolstered up their team. So I got to applaud the Los Angeles Lakers. Because I know a lot of times we look at the Lakers and we laugh and we want to see them not do good because their fans are annoying. But I'm giving the Lakers their props. I'm happy for the Lakers, and I just want to acknowledge that I think they have a championship roster, and I think we should do that as a collective basketball community. And I say all that to say that expectations will be high next year for the Los Angeles Lakers. Like, we should look at this team and take them as serious contenders, and anything less, to me, is a failing season, especially after the postseason they had after they were able to recover from such a tough start to the season. Another winner for me is the same type of thing. The Bucks really brought back that team that is going to put them in the contention next year. You bring back Chris Middleton, obvious decision. You bring back Brook Lopez, obvious decision. You bring back Jay Crowder. They lost Javon Carter. Shout out to Cuzzo. Welcome back home. He's going to be a Bull now. But I still think they brought back big, important pieces for this team to continue to compete at a high level going forward. You still have Drew Holiday, Middleton, Crowder, Giannis, Lopez, Bobby Portis. I think Grayson Allen is still in that team. So there are some things there in Milwaukee that they can continue to build on and maybe compete for another championship. The Pacers. I think the Pacers took advantage of a lot of stuff that was going on. The Pacers went out there and they made some really good moves. They threw a bag at Bruce Brown, and they paid Bruce Brown $22 million a year over the next 2 years. They went out and they obviously saw somebody that they loved, and I think that was a good pickup. They took 2 second-round picks and got my boy Obi Toppin from the Knicks. I think that's an incredible situation for Obi Toppin to go into. Him playing more than 15 minutes per game off the bench and now put him into a most improved type position. And they look like a very, very fun team, especially after their draft class of Jarris Walker, Ben Shepherd. You still have Miles Turner. You extended Tyrese Halliburton. Benedict Mathurin had a really good rookie campaign. You add Bruce Brown to that mix. There is a lot going on there. Even Obi Toppin, you still have Buddy Hield, TJ McConnell. I'm loving the Pacers, and I think they're building something fun, young, and dangerous. That team was playing extremely well at the beginning of last year before Tyrese Halliburton and a lot of other guys went down with injuries. And now you come back, you add more talent, and you have another year of experience under your belt with this team. I think they can continue to be dangerous, and I think they are a team to watch for as far as young competing teams. With Rick Carlisle being their coach, we know he's a winning coach. We know he's all about the X's and O's. I would look closely at the Indiana Patriots being one of those new teams to enter the chat, especially out east. They're going to be hungry to take somebody's spot. And now you add Bruce Brown to that mix. They have a lot of versatility, a lot of depth at each position, and they're going to be able to defend. And them being able to defend is going to be very dangerous because if they are a team that is getting out in transition a lot with Tyrese Halliburton running the point for them, they're going to be a very dangerous and fun team because Jarris Walker on a break with Tyrese Halliburton or Bruce Brown, Benedict Mathurin, all of these athletic, strong bodies coming down the court full throttle with Halliburton making a decision, there's going to be some showtime. Obi Toppin for a lob, Bruce Brown for a lob, Benedict Mathurin for a lob. Jarris Walker ain't the most athletic, but he gets a lob. Like, there's going to be some showtime with the Pacers. And Miles Turner, pick pop threes, spacing it 5 out. They're going to be scary, and I'm excited to see how they look on the floor. And then the Suns. I mean, for the Suns to have Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Ayton, they came out fast and aggressive in free agency, and I think they were able to fill some holes. You bring back Damian Lee, who shot the 3-ball incredibly well for them last year. You bring in Drew Eubanks, who can be a really, really good backup center if you don't bring back Jock Landale, who I think is entering free agency, unrestricted free agency. You bring in Keita Bates-Diop from the Spurs, very underrated signing. He played really well with his size and his three-point shooting. You brought back Okogie, Yuta Watanabe, who had experience playing with KD in Brooklyn, and then also you bring in Metu from Sacramento. That's a lot of bodies and a lot of guys who I think can come off the bench and give you 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, some corner shooting there, some defense here, rebounding there, energy there. And there's still probably a couple of moves here and there to make, especially in the backcourt. But for a team with so much top-heavy talent, I think they came out really strong and did a good job getting a lot of bodies to put around those guys as far as three-point shooting, rebounding, and defense. So I got to give credit to the Suns there. Losers, okay? Losers. The thing about free agency is it's tough to say who's a straight-up loser because guys can outperform contracts and guys can play a lot better than certain people expect. I know that firsthand because I'm a Knick fan, and a lot of people did a lot of clowning, had a lot of jokes, and did a lot of head scratching at the Jalen Brunson thing and how we did all of these different things to go get him, just for everybody to look up a year later and be like, oh, that was actually a real good thing that they did there. So I'm not basing my losers necessarily off of, oh my gosh, the Rockets gave Fred VanVleet all of this money. He's going to make more money than this guy or that. Like I said in the intro, we have plenty of time to judge those. I'm looking at it from this perspective. The Blazers are a loser. The Blazers gave Jeremy Grant a 5-year, $160 million contract. And though I'm happy for Jeremy Grant, though I am a guy who would say Jeremy Grant can come play for my team any day of the week because he shows that he can do a lot of different things on the court, and he's shown that he's willing to get better and continue to take steps in his progression. But a guy like Jeremy Grant on this type of contract is only valuable if I'm having a guy like Damian Lillard and we're playing for postseason hopes. Damian Lillard requested a trade. So now that Damian Lillard is going to be traded, the Jeremy Grant 5-year 160 on a rebuilding team doesn't look as attractive. I don't think you're going to get the value of Jeremy Grant with him out there with Scoot, Anthony, and Shaedon Sharpe. I don't view that. Now, there is a situation where maybe at the deadline you try to flip him and trade him. But even then, how many assets are you really getting for a Jeremy Grant? Is somebody giving you 2 first-round picks or 3 first-round picks for Jeremy Grant if they already have 2 max contracts on their team? Because anybody that's trading for Jeremy Grant, they're going to have championship aspirations. And at $32 million, yeah, the cap is going to continue to go up. And eventually there's going to be some suitors and some people that can make the money match. But more importantly, you're probably going to have to take back some disgusting contracts that you're not really going to be in favor of just to get them off. And then who knows how much draft compensation you're going to get. I don't know how draft picks work as far as these trades. You have certain trades with like Rudy and DeJounte is 3 picks here, 4 picks there, 3 picks and 3 swaps. And then you got certain guys where it's like, oh, Obi Toppin, 2 second-round picks. And I'm like, huh? Bradley Beal, no first-round pick. I'm like, huh? So I don't really know how NBA execs and front office personnel, how they value picks depending on the player. It's hard for me to say what a team is going to get back, but it's definitely interesting to see them still go through with this signing without Damian Lillard, on deck to come back. I thought that signing was something that Damian Lillard was pushing for because he had been vocal about Jeremy Grant, Draymond Green, and looking for those type of winning players to make a push. But now that he's come out and requested a trade and they're still reporting to go through with it, little weird to me. And to me, that makes them an extremely big-time loser. And it seems like they're going to do right by Dame in this trade, which I think can hurt their assets just a little bit. Because if Dame is saying he wants to go to Miami, Dame is also going to Miami to play with Bam and Jimmy, which means you're probably going to get back Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and some nasty contracts. If he goes to Philadelphia, it's been reported that Philly isn't going to give up Maxey. So what are you getting back? Tobias Harris and some first-round picks that'll end up being like the 26 or 27 pick because any of these teams that Dame goes to are going to be really good teams. So I'm kind of confused on that part, and this makes the Blazers, to me, big losers because I feel like if you came out and said you were trading Dame before free agency happened, a lot of teams have a lot more money, a lot more flexibility, a lot more options. But you waited and you announced that he's requested a trade in the middle of the second day of the start of free agency, where a lot of teams have now spent their money and allocated their money to a lot of different players. So there's not that many options that are flexible for you to think about. And that's going to be an interesting route. I know it's Philly, I know it's Miami, and I know it's Nets, and I know Damian Lillard has expressed the desire to play out east. And then there's some other people talking about maybe the Spurs. I don't know, but I just think that this could have been a better offseason if the Blazers came out and made a ground-rooted decision in trading Dame after the draft. Once they took Scoot Henderson, Chris Murray, and Ryan Rupert, they should have said, that's our sign that we're going to move on and trade Dame. And I think they would have had a lot more options and a lot more success, and they would have been able to navigate free agency a lot better than what they've done. Also, the Chicago Bulls, man. The Chicago Bulls. I love the fact that they brought back my cousin Javon. Obviously, as a family, that's an extremely proud, gracious moment for him to come back and be able to play at home. But everything that the Bulls are doing is kind of making me scratch my head. It just looks like they're bringing back the same team, and they're going to add Javon, and there'll probably be another move here or there. But they're bringing back that same core of Vooch, DeMar, and Zach, which has not had the success I think that they thought they would have. And I would have preferred to see them make some strong pivot, whether it's trading DeMar or trading Zach, not bringing back Vooch. I understand you don't want to lose him for nothing, but, kind of clearing a way for Patrick Williams to get some minutes, clearing a way for Dalen Terry to get some opportunity. But as of right now, they're kind of going to bring back the same team, and they're going to add Javon to the mix and maybe add another person here or there. I don't know what happens with Ayo. But we're probably going to get the same type of feel next year, too, where it's like the Bulls aren't great. They aren't horrible, but they're in the middle. And what do you think they're going to do with DeMar and Zach? And I just don't think that that's a proper offseason for the Bulls. I thought after last year, it solidified that they should make some hard, big changes this offseason. And to see them not do nothing at all that was major, except like bring back Drummond and bring in Javon and Vucevic, I'm a little disappointed for Bulls fans. And they didn't really have anything on at the draft. They did trade into the second round to get Julian Phillips, but the Bulls just haven't done anything that I feel like is prominent. And I think they need some prominent moves. And I think they have some attractive pieces that teams will be willing to make trades with them for. Every team out there would love to have a Caruso that's going for playoff minutes. There's somebody out there that would love to have DeMar DeRozan. So the fact that the Bulls are kind of staying pat and ain't really doing anything, disappointing. The Spurs lost Keita Bates-Diop to the Suns like we talked about. They brought back Trey Jones. But more importantly, I thought the Spurs would be a team that would just throw some money at Austin Reeves. And a lot of people in the Spurs or the Lakers are like, why would the Spurs do that? Why would they tie up their money and yada, yada, just for us to match whatever? I would have seen if the Lakers was going to match. The Lakers were spending, and they only are paying him $14 million a year. I would have tried to put a little bit extra on that. And I don't know how that situation works. Maybe there's something I don't know where the Spurs would not have been able to offer anything more than what the Lakers did anyway. So if that's the case, then I get it. But I wanted to see the Spurs be a little bit more aggressive with their cap. They brought back Trey Jones, like I said. They lost Keita Bates-Diop. And outside of that, there hasn't really been anything major going on with the Spurs. They didn't go after Jakob like people said that they would. They did bring back Julian Champagnie. But I just wanted to see them get a little bit more aggressive in some way. And there's still some time to maybe get some guys here and there, but those big names are off the board. And I think that they would have been decent to try to make some type of attempt to do something a little extra because you're bringing in Vic. And I think there is some talent there with Vic, Vassell, Trey Jones, and how good he takes care of the ball, Keldon Johnson. You bring in a little bit veteran presence there, and you can change the dynamic of a season or what we are expecting from the Spurs. So I was a little disappointed from them in that sense. And then the last but not least team is the Philadelphia 76ers as far as losers. The James Harden situation is such a head scratcher, man. James Harden is now probably going to be traded. He's upset with the 76ers with how they handled his offseason and his free agency. He's opting into his contract, and he's either going to stay with the Sixers, which at this point is kind of mind-blowing that that's even an option after they've said that they're going to trade him. And, yeah, I mean, the same thing with the Dame situation. They have some teams that are going to be interested, but I just don't know how much you get for Harden on the last year of his deal, knowing he's damn near guaranteed to go into free agency after opting in. And there's a sentiment that you can lose him. And we've seen a lot of kind of silly, goofy teams be interested, in my opinion. Like, I don't know, the Knicks. What could we give the Sixers that thrills them? Some draft capital? Joel Embiid is trying to win the championship. And even the Knicks, we're kind of a far-fetched team because we really want to see what's going to happen so we can go after Joel Embiid. The Bulls are interested in James Harden. What the hell are the Bulls giving the 76ers? DeMar DeRozan? You're going to go from having Harden to DeMar, Embiid, and Maxey? The Miami Heat, Tyler Hero, he's cool. But is Tyler Hero, Maxey, Tobias, and Embiid the answer? I don't know. It just seems like any route or any form of a trade that they do with James Harden for the people that will be interested in acquiring him, it's only going to hurt that team, and it's only going to widen up the percentage of Joel Embiid potentially asking for a trade out. And I think that's what makes them losers. They're kind of handling this team very bad. You're already going to have a new coach. Now you're probably going to lose Harden. You're not extending Tyrese Maxey. Tobias Harris' name has been thrown around all over the place. I've seen PJ Tucker being attached to James Harden in any trade. So it's kind of like Embiid, and you just kind of have to hope that you can kind of pick these pieces up. You lost Niang, you lost Shake Milton. I just don't know how this team is going to look next year. And if you lose James Harden with free agency, every day, every hour, you're losing guys that you can be putting on this roster. But if you lose James Harden, this team is not that good with the East getting better because the Heat are going to get Harden. The Heat are going to get Lillard. Brooklyn's going to get somebody potentially. The Knicks have only gotten better. The Celtics got Porzingis, and they're getting better. The Bucks brought back their guys. A lot of teams in the Eastern Conference are getting better, and the 76ers are looking like one of the few top teams in the East who aren't doing anything to add talent. They're actually just losing it. So the 76ers in that situation, and in my opinion, is a big loser. And then there are some teams that I'm kind of indifferent on. I wanted to see the Kings be a little bit aggressive with their cap space, but they brought back everybody. So I don't look at that as a bad thing. They also brought in some Euro talent at the 4, which I think is going to be really good for them as far as spacing and pacing because he can really knock down the 3. So that's going to open up some things for them. But they brought back the team, which is Harrison Barnes, Trey Lyles. They're going to look to try to extend Sabonis. And it feels like they're kind of betting on having the same type of team. They're betting on continuity, chemistry, and then they're also betting on Keegan Murray continuing to get better and better in year 2. And I think I like that. I did want to see them go after a Jeremy Grant. I did want to see them go after a Kyle Kuzma. I did want to see them go after Draymond Green. But I think the next best thing was to bring back your players and your team that had so much success last year. So I like that with the Kings. The Cavaliers, I think the Cavaliers bringing back Karis LeVert and adding George Niang, I think is extremely solid, even adding Max Strus. There's a lot of teams out here doing a lot of good things. I just don't I don't know how it's all going to play out because there's a lot of moves left to be made out there for some contending teams. The Timberwolves actually did a lot more than I remember. The Timberwolves got Shake Milton. They brought back Nickeil Alexander. They added Troy Brown Jr. Philadelphia also added Patrick Beverly. So there you go. And yeah, Denver, sucks to see you lose Bruce Brown, but that's how it happens when you win a championship. There's going to be a key player off that bench or underrated starter who's going to play way above his salary, and he's going to hit the open market. And because you just won a championship and he plays so much of a vital role, there's going to be a team out there who's trying to make that splash. It happens all the time. When the Lakers won a championship way back when, the guy was Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza would just got a bag because it was like, oh, man, that guy could look a lot different with an extended opportunity in minutes. Before we get up out of here, because so much is happening continuously, live right here. Houston nearing a deal to acquire Memphis Wings. So Dylan Brooks looks like he's on his way. And I'm going to be honest with you, bro. That gives me a whole different look at the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets are nearing a deal with Dylan Brooks. Houston has been lining up trades around the league and could turn Brooks into a sign and trade. That makes me winners for the Rockets. They completed their plan. Their plan this entire free agency was to go get Fred, somebody who was going to be a veteran point guard who could play with the young talent without hindering them. I think that's where his value comes in for the Rockets. Somebody like Ime being there, trying to, put some defensive principles on that team. Fred is going to be very solid defensively. He's going to be able to shoot the 3 ball. He's going to be able to create some opportunities for his teammates, but he can also play in the backcourt with Jalen Green. He can also play off of Alperen Şengün. He can do a lot of different things. So I think Fred's value is super significant to the Rockets because he can play with those guys, help lead those guys in a way that doesn't hinder them. And that was the problem with James Harden potentially going to Houston, and why I think they kind of closed off their interest in that reunion, because he was going to come in, demand the ball, control the ball, and that was going to take the ball out of Jalen Green's hands, out of Kevin Porter Jr.'s hands, out of Alperen Şengün's hands, out of Amen Thompson's hands, and he wasn't going to be a leader defensively. So I think that's where you bring in that value, and now you get more defense on the wing with Dylan Brooks, and that's going to be a big time win for them. I don't like the fact that they gave up 2 first-round picks for nothing to the Hawks and Ty Washington and Usman Garaba. But Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, Amen Thompson, with the core talent that you already had, plus you bring in Ime as your head coach, the Rockets had a successful offseason. I got to put them in my winners category for sure. And with that being said, I'm looking. Blazers GM Joe Cronin, we have been clear that we want Dame here, but he notified us today he wants out and he prefer to play somewhere else. What has not changed for us is that we're committed to winning, and we are going to do what's best for the team in pursuit of that goal, which to me is a little bit BS. If you were committed to winning, Damian Lillard would have been available at the start of free agency. You would have had him. Damian Lillard would have been traded on draft night. We're going to bring in Scoot. Not only are we going to bring in Scoot, we're going to get a bunch of young and more assets for Dame, and we're going to, go full throttle into this rebuild, and we're going to sign Jeremy Grant or sign and trade Jeremy Grant somewhere and get some more assets, and we're going to use our cap space by taking in bad deals with draft compensation. So I'm taking in Davis Bertans for extra late first-round pick. I'm taking in Tim Hardaway Jr. or whatever people view as a not so good contract. We're going to take those contracts, but you got to attach a first round pick for it. And now by the end of it, by the end of the offseason, we got a bunch of young talent, and we got like 5, 4, 6 added draft picks from the Dame trade and Jeremy Grant signing trade and by absorbing bad contracts. And now we ready to go, and we just going to play freely and just be fun while we rebuild. But who knows? Who knows? I am Pee Wee the Plug. This is NBA Weekly. I am loving free agency. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts on every single thing, moves y'all want to see made, players that y'all are kind of weary of. Like, I am so kind of thrown off that I haven't heard anything with Kelly Oubre. I just haven't heard anything. Like, what's going on with Kelly Oubre? That's a head scratcher. I like Kelly Oubre. I think he had a really, really good year. And I'm disappointed that we haven't heard legitimately no ties or no interest or no rumors with his name. So we'll see what happens. But y'all let me know who y'all still waiting on or who y'all trying to figure out what's going to happen to or where they're going to play. And I'll see y'all next time. I'm out. Peace.